Yeah, I mean that's a large question. I think some of the key points that maybe I can just throw out there. One is that if we look back to this morning, there were a few ways that we envisioned this exercise and the information provided leading to parts of a planning process. So those were things like the development of objectives. If we take this information, we have a bit of a baseline and an understanding to work from to say what might we want to achieve with a plan with respect to social, economic, or cultural interests. This information can also sort of provide basically support to decisions. If we know what things are like now, and we have some sense of what things might look like into the future, this is important information for us to go, well, given that, what kinds of things do we want to develop around recommendations for a plan? So I would say that's another way that information will sort of lead to decisions. So, you know, if the person who asked this question is looking for something more specific, I invite them to follow up with me afterwards. I hope that's been of some use.
Well, I don't know if that was my question, but my question, because I didn't write it down, my question was to do with process, because it seemed to me, you know, that all the questions this morning, the majority of them had to do with process, and I'm still at a loss at, I understand we have a consultant that is going to be writing a report based on information they get from things like this and also from studies. I understand that. The question is where does this information go? I understand that you're going to have a report that is going to put together or is going to explain what the department the process should be. I can't remember what you said it was called, it was going to be in March. But, you know, but many of us in North have heard of your PITs, your planning and implementation table. And it takes place in Vancouver. We have had, as you know, no input into it as coastal, as a North Coast region, either a regional district or just a meeting like this. And in fact, the only other meeting that I'm aware of that we had up here, besides the meeting that North Coast First Nation put on, which was an information meeting probably a year or so ago, was a meeting that I believe that you were at just before the big meeting that took place in Vancouver last year. And at that meeting, all of the same concerns were voiced that were we going to be left out of the table? Was the table going to be in Vancouver? And it was going to be dominated by interests, money's interests in Vancouver. And we still have those concerns then. We have capacity concerns, all of those concerns. How do we make sure, what is our capacity to make sure that our interests are reflected in these documents? Most of us don't have money to make sure we're not the big six environmental coalitions that have been put to war and vehicles not compromised.
Okay.
So those things are so important because when you give information, the question has been where is the information controlled? Who is it going to go to? How is it going to affect the process? How are the North Coast people going to be being heard here, writing things down on board, but every one of us, as we made a comment when we were up here last time, every one of us has been in a million vehicle consultation meetings, and we've never seemed to be able to impact the outcome of vehicle policy through this consultation.
Okay, so there's quite a bit in there. So I think we need to back up to the start, which is the assumption that there is some table formed. So that assumption is not correct. There is no table formed of stakeholders that is providing us with ongoing advice or that has some structured role in this process. What we have proposed is the development of some sort of advisory committee or planning and implementation team, whatever name we give it. We've proposed the development of some sort of table that would be inclusive to bring different sectors together to play a bit of an ongoing role and provide some of that direction and advice to how we do things and what we do, etc. In addition to that, I mean, we can think of that if we're talking in the broader sense of engaging interested parties in this. That's one means or one strategy for engaging with people. There will be other kinds of strategies or other means of reaching out to people to ensure that, you know, there are other kinds of opportunities to provide input and feedback. So that's sort of part number one, maybe, is just that, you know, we are looking to develop different strategies or different ways to engage with communities, whether those be stakeholders based out of Vancouver because they work in this area, or they be communities and stakeholders that live and work in these areas within the region. We need to find ways that provide sort of avenues for that kind of engagement in different ways. Now, in terms of the other part of your question, which was more about you know, how do you see your input reflected in what we do moving forward? I mean, I don't. All I can say is that it's certainly our intention to try and adapt what we do to address some of the concerns and the issues that have been raised here. If we go back a year and say, what did we hear back then and what are we doing now, I can tell you that we have made changes, and we have sort of incorporated what we've been hearing in certain ways to structure and design how we plan this process to look. And I hope that some of that will become evident when these documents around engagement and process design are released. You should see that some of the things that came up in those meetings are now in these documents. So I think that there will be some evidence of that. Last thing I want to mention is that you know, in terms of how have we been getting out to communities, yes, there were some meetings that happened before the forum. We had the forum. We have also since then had meetings with different groups or with multiple groups altogether that have taken place in Vancouver, but also here in Prince Rupert. We were here, I think, in May or June with some of the regional district folks. So this is something that we sort of intend to continue doing to get out to communities.
So I'm actually going to stop you there. I know there are other questions, and there are a few more there that Charles has sent. We'll get to them. But we'll look for opportunities to speak to them through the course of the rest of our time together. If it's not today, it'll be tomorrow. And if there are, so we'll only be in plenary to do report outs from here on in. And if people have questions that are of a cross-cutting nature, then see me or Neil, and we'll try to work those questions and answers in as well. So we ran a little bit late in this discussion, but our commitment was to answer your questions. And to be forthright and transparent about what's going on here. So I did erode your lunch a little bit. I'm going to put it back to you. Can we stay on schedule and take a 45-minute lunch, or do people want an hour lunch and stay 15 minutes later at the end? Yeah, I know.
I'll tell you after I eat.
Okay, let's get back here at 1:15, and we'll check in with you then.